Careful what you say or you'll get better.
Yeah.
All right. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah.
Good. You guys ready for open mic night?
I am.
We already kind of informally invited a guest, and we'll see if he takes us up on it. About some real-time feedback. So we'll see.
Feedback
All right.
is good.
Three Tortured Souls, open mic night. Welcome, John and JD. Glad to see you guys are here. So we are going to do our once a month open mic night that we promised to keep going. So that is what we're going to do tonight. So Tim, Kenny, how you guys doing? Hey, Ryan.
I'm doing good.
Doing good.
Hey, Tom.
Got myself a fancy drink tonight.
I have a very special guest that came into my studio, so I'm going to step out for just a minute.
Okay.
All right.
My daughter's
Look
in.
at that face. Look at his smile. He's like, yeah.
All right, we'll cut Tim some slack when he goes and says hello to his daughter. So, hey Ryan, hey Tom, hey Sarah, John, JD, thanks for joining us tonight. So tonight is open mic night. I will go ahead and post an invite and a link to come on the show if you want to come on and ask a question. We'll bring you on. That'll be fun, and just looking forward to a great open discussion. Kenny, what you been up to?
Drinking.
Drinking.
Actually, this is a nice little break because I've been working on a video all day, actually remixing a video so that I can submit it. But then I had these problems where, like, part of the video, like a 2-minute section, the audio is off slightly. So you see me talking, but it's like a old martial arts movie, and I can't figure out why. So it looks perfect in the software, and then when I save it and replay it, it messes up. So that was driving me crazy. But I do have a new drink tonight. I'm getting all fancy. I'm drinking straight rum.
Ooh,
maple
straight rum.
bourbon, butter pecan. Oh, it's so good. It's like dessert. It's like
my special visitor.
Oh, hey,
hey, how are you?
This is my daughter, Keegan. Those are her point shoes, not my point shoes.
Yeah, right.
Sure. Okay, maybe I wore them once or twice.
Yeah,
once. That's about it.
Twice.
For sure.
Tim likes the shoes.
All right, Tim. So what's up? How you been?
Oh, very happy now. Get to see my daughter.
Excellent.
Other than that, it's been a normal week of work. Looking at prices of data loggers.
Oh,
okay. Did you break the bank yet?
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm down to what I can afford is just hiring someone to sit in a corner and write notes as they think they hear something. That's my only data logger I can get right now.
Perfect.
I do have an update on the EDI Plus thing because I did contact the person I bought it from and complain that the one that I purchased was not working right. And I sent videos, the videos that I sent you guys showing like it not working, not operating properly. I sent it to him and he sent me a replacement. But two things I had a problem with. One, like this, the first one came in a nice box, protected. The second one was delivered in an envelope, just that paper kind of envelope with a little bit of bubble wrap inside, but just that's it. considering that the delivery people toss it onto my porch, I wasn't happy with that. And then when
Ooh.
I turned it on and put an SD card in it, it doesn't record. So it's not recording at all. And I tried different SD cards, nothing works. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Oh, that sucks.
So my next step is I'm just going to send it back and see if I can get a refund, because I don't want it. Not even for testing. It's just useless to me now.
So even the second one's not working.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's just they have a bad batch, but I mean, it just sucks. It just,
Yeah.
oh well.
That sucks. All right. So let's see who else has joined. Britton, Greg, Tiffany, welcome to the show. And let's get to the first question by JD. JD asks, how often does one get attacked by ghosts while ghost hunting? Well, if you're Zach Bagans, you get attacked and possessed every episode, so it's 100% of the time. It works 50% of the time.
3 times per episode. And if you include the possessions, those are by demons, so that might be a little different category.
Right.
Got to check yourself.
So, Kenny, how many times do you think people get attacked by ghosts while ghost hunting?
I'm resisting the urge to provide a sarcastic answer here.
Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
trying
What
to
the hell are
start
you
off.
holding back for? Come on.
Oh my God. Well, I'm saving myself just in case.
A little late.
Anyway, so this question really depends on who you talk to, because it's common to see ghost hunting groups, especially like on your YouTube channels or on their personal pages, say that they got attacked. And by attacked, we mean any kind of physical type injury that can cause a
Oh,
mark.
he said energy.
Oh, yeah.
I slipped.
Motherfucker.
There you go.
You said enough of it for at least a sip.
Yep.
So we're talking like scratches and being pushed, I guess. Maybe if they perceive it as being pushed down some stairs, if they're at the top of the stairs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we see it like Dave, you mentioned Zach Bagans. I mean, he's almost every episode we see him, something happens. And especially if something happens to one of his crew members, you know, because if that happens, then he has to one up that, because that's just his ego. But there are a lot of groups out there that I've seen, that I've watched, claim to be scratched. And scratched is like the top injury. That's the most popular attack. Everyone wants to get scratched. It really looks like it. You know, you have these evolution of things where you went from orbs to ecto mist photos to shadow people to apparitions to demons now are sexy, but everyone wants to be scratched so they can show it. And there's so many cases where all of these scratches are well within reach of the person that's claiming to have been attacked. And that's not to say that everyone is hoaxing. They do their investigations, I use that term loosely, in the dark or very low light. So there's good chances for them to brush up against something and scratch themselves on the wall, exposed beams, nails, you know, screws, broken pieces of wood, and what have you. But I think, and there's also that problem with people scratching themselves by accident and just not realizing it. You know, you're in that environment, maybe a dirty environment. You're sitting on the dirt floor in an old building and you get a scratch and you start scratching it and you don't realize how hard you scratch it. And then all of a sudden you walk out into the light, everyone's taking a break and somebody else notices, oh, you got some pink lines.
Right.
You know, no blood. Nobody ever gets gaping horror movie kind of slashes, you know, where they're pouring out their life's blood, but they get the pink lines and that's about it. So there you go.
All right, Tim.
That was kind of the angle I was thinking about. I don't know. Like, I'm certainly not around everybody when they say that they get attacked, but I would love nothing more if you could actually get an actual video that you could claim would be a ghost attack. I don't know how else to say it. I question all the time. Same with demonic attacks. the level of the injury for me is questionable. I don't. Yeah, I'm like Kenny, especially when they claim a demonic attack. Like I just don't. There's 3 scratches, no blood, no gaping wounds, no call 911 for stitches. I just don't see this massive entity that's going to cross great divides through different planes of existence to hit you with this very small switch. And kind of tiptoe and giggle as they run away. So I don't know. I can't say nobody's been attacked by a ghost or a demon. I just don't. I haven't seen anything that's convinced me. I just don't see it. How many people do? I never have. I can put that. Great. I never have. I have. I've asked for it. I've begged for it. I've went to when I went with the team, everybody, just about everybody, but myself for law enforcement. We went to a prison where they sent many people to prison. And I'm sure more, well, I don't know how many actually died there, but I'm sure probably some, and went with them and begged, challenged, threw down. They brought their cuffs in and their badge, talked shit, inside, what was Moundsville. And nothing, not a thing. I like literally remember that night. If it's going to happen, we're dead center in the bottom of a prison in the basement that locked up. And I was with 3 or 4 police officers talking shit. And I was like, this has got to be it, and nothing. So for me, I haven't seen it. I don't think I'm going to see it. So I can just say, for me, I've never been attacked.
Yeah, I haven't been either. I think Jen and I got together, and I was part of her group since 2001. And since then, we've had 2 people claim that they've been scratched. 2 cases, 2 people scratched. And obviously, what caused those scratches, we're not really sure. But there's never been anything beyond a skin irritation, which can be due to a lot of different things in the environment. The most prominent one was somebody who was at the house in Janesville. They went upstairs, used the bathroom, they came back down, and they claimed that they had a burning sensation across their back. And yeah, there was 3 distinct scratches there, but even that person said, well, yeah, it could have been, the animals or the dog, the cats at the dogs in your home or the cats in our house. We're not really sure. So over 2001 until now, you're talking 21 years and 2 people reporting anything. And that was it. And they really aren't sure where it came from. It could have been electrical discharge in the environment. It could have been an allergic reaction to something. So they didn't really even know where it came from. So as far as ghosts attacking, hurting, pushing, physical interaction with people, at least in my personal experience, and that's all I can talk to, 2 situations potentially out of 21 years. So that's pretty rare. And even then, it could be some sort of environmental thing. Not to mention, it can be psychosomatic, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad term. Your mind obviously is very powerful, and when you think something's happening, you can exhibit physical. How would you say it? Kind of like the physical attributes of what you think is going on. So those things happen, but I haven't really ever seen anybody get hurt by it. I know there was one person in our group a while back that claimed he got pushed down some stairs at a certain facility, but that it's hard to verify. How do you know that's happening? How do you know you didn't trip? How do you know you're not freaked out by the environment? How do you know you didn't trip on something in the dark? So hard to say, but I really don't see it as that common of an occurrence. And even in poltergeist cases where they claim to have a lot of objects flying around and things moving, people don't normally get hit or hurt by those objects. So to me, I think it's probably pretty rare. it'd be an interesting thing to take a look at what everybody reports, and if they have anything that's documented that they could show. But I think it's pretty rare. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
rare. And what you're seeing on the TV shows, I think, is giving you a false sense of alarm, that people get attacked by ghosts, that people are harmed by them, and that typically just doesn't seem to happen all that much.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to show you real quick. I don't know if this will show up. Let's see. No, it's not showing up. Oh yeah, maybe that pink line.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I got that yesterday at work. Didn't realize it. Oh, come on, focus. There we go. Yeah, I was walking around work, and I build engines and transmissions and stuff. So all of a sudden, I was getting that itch, and I was like, itch, and scratching it, and then looked down. And I was like, oh, that's why it itches. I got scratched. Didn't realize when it happened. No clue, but it just happened, and no blood, just a pink line, but it's still there. And that's how easy it is. And you guys mentioned it. It's easy to scratch yourselves, and interpretation is a big deal. Like you said, Dave, like you could be at the top of a stairs in a dark place, the lights out, on a ghost hunt, and you bump into something, you kind of trip or just lose your balance because of the environment, and it's interpreted as, oh, something tried to push me down the stairs. And yeah, you're right. It would be interesting to look into it, like gather all the cases where people have claimed it and really look at them, scrutinize them. But I think that's going to be like a monumental task, even for a small sample size.
Right.
There you go.
Right. All right. Next question from Tom. This may have been covered before. Ignore if so. You each mentioned that you used to believe in ghosts. What was the moment that made you no longer believe? I'll start with Tim.
Oh, I like this. This is good. I did. When I was a ghost hunter, oh shit, I chased everything. I can remember like my first time out in a cemetery. We had one of the infrared cameras, the Sony night shot things, if you remember those. And there was an orb, there's an orb flying around, and I was just chasing that, thinking it was a ghost. Jesus. So anyway, just I like to share my embarrassments, but sure enough, ran all around chasing basically a bug, but swore it was a ghost. I was very much into it, very much a believer. I think my process of changing over is kind of a evolution of a process. It wasn't like a moment necessarily, but I began after 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. I began noticing that everything we got on every investigation was always kind of the same thing. It never really varied. And when internet, other ghost hunting teams were posting what they had, and it wasn't a whole lot different than what we had. I just didn't see a lot of variation. I didn't see a lot of clarity, garbled voices, blurry pictures, anecdotal reports of something that they experienced. So I just started thinking, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Literally, it seems like everybody's doing the same thing. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong. And so when I started thinking about it differently, and started thinking, how could I actually do something to see if there's a ghost in this place? Right about the same time I was about in that stage of it, we were setting up equipment at a local place to do an investigation, and somebody was there. I didn't know who they were, but they were just kind of visiting the place. And I remember they asked me, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, we're setting up all this equipment to look for a ghost. And they were like, how will you know when you get one? And I was like, oh shit. You'll see something on the screen go by. And they're like, what is it? I'm like, well, it's a ghost, or else you wouldn't see it. And it was just this kind of a confrontation of I guess I'm not trying. It was a confrontation of the question straight to me that I couldn't really answer. That made me go, I don't think I know what I'm doing. I don't think I'm doing what I think I'm doing, and it just changed. So I don't necessarily. I'm not going to say I don't believe in ghosts for sure. I just haven't seen one yet. I haven't seen anything that's going to support the existence of them. I would 110%. I would hope that there is a ghost. Like that would just be so cool. And I want to believe, but more than wanting to believe, I want to know. And so there's a huge gap of steps between wanting to believe and knowing. So it was just more of an evolution. I was getting tired of doing the same thing and getting the same results. And then just by chance, someone pinned me to a wall with questions I couldn't answer. And I had to admit I couldn't answer them.
Okay. Good. Kenny?
Can't hear you.
Muted.
God damn it.
Dead air. Dead air.
Dead air.
Oh,
That's that rum kicking in. So, as I was saying, the demons muted my mic. Pretty much the same as Tim there. It was an evolution. It wasn't such like a light switch. It wasn't just one day I woke up and said, you know what, I don't believe in ghosts anymore. It was more my gateway was photography, getting into photography, understanding it, because it finally started dawning on me that this thing that was so rare, pictures of ghosts. Because growing up, when you picked up a book or you saw that once in a while special on TV about ghosts and monsters and stuff, it was usually the Brown Lady of Raymond Hall, the Tulip Staircase ghost, and then maybe one or two here and there. You know, you heard about Amityville, you heard about the same things over and over again. But all of a sudden, ghost hunting exploded, and everyone was getting pictures. Everyone was getting these weird things, especially when the Sony Mavica came out. Everyone was getting shit. So it really made me think, like, why is everyone getting it? Everyone that I know is saying it's rare, but yet everyone getting this shit. What's going on here? And that got me into photography more. Like, let's learn how to do it and what it means, because I wanted to be more impressive. I mean, it was really selfish. To be honest, it was like I wanted to be able to explain to all the skeptics and science people that I know how a camera works, and this is why it can't possibly be anything other than a ghost. And that backfired on me, because I learned, like, oh, okay, it is us. It is the camera. It's operator error. And that just led me into more and more of an understanding, like, all right, maybe this doesn't exist. Photography alone didn't do that. It showed me that the photos had more likely natural explanations. But the more I learned, the more I looked into specific cases, the more it was like, all right, well, I'm not so sure. I'm not saying I 100% do not believe. I just, right now, my idea is that they probably don't exist. So that's me.
Okay. Yeah, I think as a kid watching the TV shows and the movies, I believed. But as I started looking a little more seriously at the research, the data, the parapsychology articles, I thought, well, I don't know, maybe there's something more to this. And I went through phases, obviously. I went through believing, then I went through thinking everything was due to electromagnetic fields, and that's what's causing all these things, or other environmental things. And I'm like, well, that probably doesn't explain all of it. And as I keep reading and looking at what's being reported and the information in the field, I'm not sure. I think I really went back and forth from a true believer to a denier that it's all environmental to, I don't know, maybe there is something to it, because we really don't know. But for me, I think that was also an evolution through my education and coming up through science and having degrees in biology and molecular biology and critical thinking, and looking at it going, okay, we can't definitively prove there's something there or what it is, but there may be something going on. So at this point, when did I really go from believer to maybe thinking there could be other natural explanations? Probably, I'd say probably, I don't know, the mid to late 90s when I started looking at the academic literature and the skeptical literature. I thought, okay, there could be something going on, but we really don't know for sure what it is. And you can't say for certain that it's a ghost, because what is a ghost? We don't really know what a ghost is. We don't know if consciousness can survive physical death. We really don't 100% understand what consciousness is, even at this point. So you've got to understand that before you can start talking about, does it survive bodily death? So I guess for me, the jury's still out. I'm open to it, but it's going to take a lot of information and data to convince me that there's something out there. Do people have interesting experiences that we can't currently explain? Sure, that happens. But does it mean that there's ghosts? I don't know. I really don't know. So I think for me, it was probably the middle 90s. And when I started taking a serious look at the academic literature and questioning what people are finding and what people are saying. So.
Cool.
All right. Let's see what else we got. All right. John Kennedy. Oh, question for Dave. Yikes. Dave, I read a little bit of the article about the illusion of stability. What are your thoughts thus far? So that's an article that I believe John's talking about that shows that our creation of what we're seeing and what we're perceiving visually and other senses seems to be delayed by about 15 seconds or so. So you see something and your brain seems to be able to, it's processing it. And it's processing it for up to maybe 15 seconds before you create a complete picture of what you're perceiving. So the idea is you're really living in the past. You're sensing things, and then 15 seconds or so later, your brain is processing it and making sense of it. My thoughts so far are it's really interesting and it's really fascinating. And I really want to dive into it more and understand it, because I don't get it yet. I haven't spent a lot of time on it, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know, because that's an area that I need to learn a little bit more about. To me, one of the things that's going to be really interesting is there's a series of experiments in parapsychology called presentiment. So they flash this picture, and then you're supposed to have a reaction. Maybe your pulse rate goes up, or your galvanic skin response goes up. So what they're saying is before you see the picture, you almost have this reaction. So what I'd like to see is looking into what we just talked about with the 15 seconds. How is that potentially impacting those parapsychology studies? Because it might be an explanatory mechanism. If what you thought was what they call presentiment, where your body's reacting prior to seeing the picture, if your brain is truly, if you're sensing something and your brain is truly 15 seconds behind, to me that could potentially explain what's going on with those presentiment experiments. So I got to dig into it a little bit more. I think it's a interesting topic, and the bottom line is, to me, it shows that we don't know squat shit about perception and consciousness, and we're still learning quite a bit. And to the other point I'd like to make is to outright dismiss any potential parapsychological phenomena when you come across studies like this that could explain it naturally, shows us that we should not be saying that the data isn't real and that we shouldn't look more into it. Because if you're saying that I'm having a presentiment body reaction in a couple studies, and then the next study says your brain's 15 seconds behind, that could easily explain it. So the data is the data, and that's one of the things we've always talked about on the show. Go where the data takes you and look at it and interpret it accordingly. So, Tim, Kenny, any comments?
This a long time ago, when I was deep diving into Am I on mute?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I was echoing.
I was making fun. I said in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, a long time ago when I was deep diving into all the physics stuff, I often love to sidetrack into the question of free will. And this came up in the question of free will, which was exactly what you're talking about. And that was your body reacting to a stimulus before your brain even had a chance to make a decision for it. And if that is the case, do you actually have free will? It was a long time ago, and I probably butchered the main premise of that idea, but I think I got about 80 to 90% of that idea correct. But that whole thing makes me think of that, and it's really good.
So I guess I've never read this, so I don't have any kind of idea of what we're talking about here, except for what I've heard from the two of you. But I guess what I'm interpreting here is that this paper or this idea is saying that there's a 15-second delay.
Mm-hmm.
And if that were the case, then we would be out of sync with nature and the environment, and we would totally fuck up everything. I mean, you can imagine, like,
But
just
yeah, but if everybody is, the perception is it's real.
Yeah, well, perception is how we perceive reality. But if reality is reality, if something happens, like if somebody throws a baseball at your head and you're on a 15-second delay, there's no way that you can move out of the way. You wouldn't be able to react. Whereas the other concept that you're talking about is processing ahead of time. Like your brain is processing the information before your perception tells us, hey, duck. You know, so from what I'm hearing, again, I haven't read the paper, but from what I'm hearing, these are two completely opposite ideas. And I think if we were on a 15-second delay from reality, how would we survive?
That's a good question.
You know, that's like doing this show, but instead of looking at the feed in front of me, the live feed, I'm looking at Facebook feed and trying to interact with that, because that's on a 10-second, at least for me, 10-second delay.
It does get you thinking, though, where certain people will say, you know what, I looked right, I looked left, I turned out into the intersection and got hit by somebody. Never saw him.
Well, that's
so there's some glitches in the matrix that might be explained by that.
I think there's something else called inattentional blindness, where you're so used to seeing things like that you might not see a motorcycle coming down the road because you're expecting a car or something like that. I think that's the term. But yeah, I mean, like as soon as you started describing that, I immediately thought of a childhood experience playing baseball. I was a pitcher and threw a pitch, and the next thing I knew, my glove was in front of my face, and I had caught the ball because they did a line drive right at my face. Didn't even think about it. So that wouldn't, if we were on a 15-second delay or a 10-second delay, whatever, there's no way that would have been possible. I'd be on the ground before I could process it. I would be on the ground with a broken nose, and then suddenly 10 seconds, 15 seconds later, I was like, oh, I got hit by a ball.
What if you threw the baseball 15 seconds earlier than you perceived that you threw it? Does that make sense?
See, that's where it gets interesting. Where everybody has that delay. Did I respond to something and it took 15 seconds to perceive it and throw it, and then it makes it over to Kenny, which there's that 15-second delay for him to catch up. So is everybody living in the 15-second delay? Anyway, it's an interesting idea, but Yeah, I
damage.
see what you're saying is, if something happens in the physical environment, if you're 15 seconds behind, it's going to happen to you or not.
Right. I mean,
So
just
to me,
think
it
about
seems more interesting when you start looking at some of the psychology and parapsychology experiments that might explain what's potentially going on there.
oh, that's a good one. Tom commented a pitching machine wouldn't have the delay. So yeah, anybody in a batting cage, you wouldn't be able to hit the ball no matter what,
Hmm.
unless you just wild swing. So
Yep.
it's an interesting. It would be.
Okay, wait a minute. So somebody
So-
has to turn that on and set a timer and put the balls into the basket to begin the
So
pitches.
they could be 15 seconds behind.
So the pitching machine could be set 15 seconds behind.
But the machine doesn't have a perception of reality. You turn it on, it just goes. If we're perceiving the ball come out, it's already hitting us. It
John
already
is
hit us.
dying to get in on this, so I'm going to bring
Yeah.
him in.
I was watching him in the green room going,
He's just like, I got to say something.
Yeah.
Bring me in."
Yeah, this
All right,
topic
John.
is fantastic. So okay, my what to Kenny. So the machine itself does not have a delay. What has the delay is the brain of the person that's setting it and the person that's observing the ball coming at them. So the machine itself doesn't have a delay. It's the minds of what's being observed, if that makes sense.
So there'd be a 15-second difference between the two.
Right. Now, I didn't get into the paper enough to see the 15 second, but I do know, like, for instance, when we decide to do something or when we decide to say something, it's been measured that there is a hundredths of a second or something that our brain reacts before we know what we're doing is even happening. So our brains do shit before we even think about doing it.
And I can get on board with that. I mean, and I hate using personal experiences, but the baseball incident that I described, I mean, my memory only remembers throwing the ball and then this. That's it. There's no in between. I don't remember the crack of the bat. I don't remember seeing the ball. Just holy shit, I caught the ball. All right, great. But I
it's
mean,
when you first noticed you had Jedi skills.
that's right. But I mean, this brings up a good, like, the first experiment that I can think of is putting on a VR device with headphones and setting it for a 6 or 15-second delay, and then trying to go about your day, because you're interacting with a physical world that does not have a perception.
Right, but to me, like Dave was saying, it's if everybody's on this delay, it's going to seem normal to everybody involved. So again, it goes back to perception.
But only perception is only what we have, not the physical world.
I'm not sure they're talking about the actual perception, but the processing of that perception, the visual processing of it.
Right.
And it seems like it's not a true, like, you see it and there's a true 15-second between what you would react to doing, but it seems like it's building a picture over those 15 seconds, contributing to the, I don't know, maybe the accuracy of what's going on. So it isn't like you see it and there's just a delay completely. There's some nuances in that study from my first read through it that your brain is seeing it and it's trying to form a complete picture through that 15 seconds. So there might be an immediate reaction. Like if you see a baseball coming at you, maybe, you've evolved to being, completely reactive to that. There's a physical reaction to that, but your brain is trying to catch up and fill in the pieces of what happened in those 15 seconds from the physical precept to what you reacted to and how you did it.
Okay.
And why
So-
some people might think that some of the reactions, as fast as they might be in certain sports or other situations, that it seems like they anticipated that. You hear people say that. It's like, oh my God, I anticipated that guy doing that. Or athletes that are at an elite level, they're like, I don't know, but I just know what to do and how to react to that.
Mhm.
So they're probably perceiving it and their brain's reacting to it, but for their mind and their consciousness to make sense of it, that might be what the delay is in the 15 seconds.
Right, and that
It sounds like more of a I don't know how to say it, like a deeper dive. What
Oh
you're
yeah, for
describing
sure.
instead of
Yeah.
like an actual 15-second difference between how we perceive the world and
Mhm.
the physical world. You're talking more of I see something and I'm thinking about it for 15 seconds before I can fully process what actually happened. I mean,
All
it's
right,
not a
because-
delay in actual perception, but just that building, almost like you're loading, like your brain's loading. You got the first image,
You
and
guys,
it's loading in the rest of the frames.
so this,
Right.
you guys are going to make me go right back into and try to find that paper, because this is kind of what was measured with that, with what I read on the publication about free will. Is again, this is not 100%. This is a long time ago, but they measured neurons firing, and then they measured your muscle responses.
yeah, that's
And
what I was
so-
talking about.
In response to a stimuli, you have several neurons that fire, and the idea at the time was, because several are firing, that your brain is going, I have 4 things I can do to respond to this. But before you like click your finger to say I know what I'm going to do, before you can click your finger to a response that is shown on a screen, all your neurons have fired and have filtered down to one choice,
Mhm.
and then it's over. So you've gone through in your brain 4 or 5 choices. Please don't quote me on this, but it seems like your brain has fired several times to figure out what to do, and it's already done before you think you made the decision.
Mhm.
And that's why they say, is it really free will? If you're not thinking about the decision you're making, it's already made for you. But then people say, well, it's your brain. So, but I think that
Yeah,
kind
but
of goes with what Dave was saying. It's elite athletes like that probably know, because they are repetitive in that sport. And if you do it 100 times over and over and over and over, and you see 1,000 different scenarios, again, I'm going to say there's probably only so many common scenarios that you can run across. And then you begin to anticipate, if A, B, C, and D start to line up like you've seen 50 times, E and F, or F and G are going to be F and G, or F and G are going to logistically or logically be this. And so you just seemingly know what to do because you've seen it and you don't think about it.
right, and that's also the black swan fallacy, where you've seen only black swans, so there's no such thing as a white swan, but they're actually there. Something else about that, I'm glad you brought that up, Tim, because something else I've noticed with it is one of the experiments they use is they use with try to remember this the best I can, with a blue ring, and all you can see is a face. And depending on what the people watched before seeing this face, they viewed it as either young or old. It's the exact same face. What they watched beforehand about aging and stuff changed the outcome of they saw this face.
Right. Now you're getting into priming.
Priming.
So you're priming someone to
Right.
to see
Yeah.
something in a specific way. So,
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Interesting topic. So,
That was
I don't
Damn
know.
it. I'm
John,
gonna be
you want to hang out for a bit?
worthless at work.
Yeah, I'm down to hang out.
All right. We'll let John chime in here.
Oh, shit.
All right. John, the host of the new podcast, Let's Learn Shit.
Yeah,
I love that.
I like that.
That's
This
great.
needs to be one of your
I
topics.
really don't think you should look for a different title. That's perfect.
Yeah, just stick with that.
All right.
So,
Yeah, like I said, that was just a placeholder at first, but if you guys, if people like it, I'm going to stick with it.
he's the one guy that swears more than we do.
Fuck yes.
All right. So Larry has a question. Have animals ever been used in investigations to detect ghosts? Yes. They've been used quite a bit. I've seen it done in private personal investigations. I've seen it on TV shows. I've seen it quite a bit. And they claim that animals can potentially sense things that we can't, higher frequencies, different uh, ability to see things with their eyes. But I thought, didn't we do a show on this a little bit
Did.
about animals
Yep.
reacting to things in the environment? And there's a lot of different things that they can be reacting to that we don't. I mean, they can obviously hear higher frequencies. They have different frequencies that they can see in, and they're just a lot more attentive and probably reactive to their environment. So, not to go back and rehash everything we covered in that last episode, but yes, they have been used, but they can also detect a lot of different natural things that we as humans cannot detect. So I'll leave it at that and open it up to Tim to comment.
I remember when the ghost hunters, I don't know if the ghost hunters like TAPS, but just ghost hunters in general on television were doing that, and really thought that was a cool idea, and brought my dog, and it was just a night full of chasing my dog, and I didn't really have a good time, so I didn't do it again. I have the same thought as you, and we did on the show. I don't know how you differentiate that it's a ghost between something else that they can perceive and they're reacting to a stimulus that you're not. I don't know, but they are proven to be very calming in situations. So maybe at least in a tense situation like a ghost hunt in a scary place could help you keep more of a steady mind and feel a little bit better while you're going through it. Maybe think more clearly.
Okay, we'll go with Kenny and then John.
So yeah, I mean, I've seen the same things. Ghost Hunters, yeah, the actual show Ghost Hunters did that. They brought, I think Jason Hawes brought his dog, big German Shepherd thing, I think. But what you guys mentioned already, these are not trained for a specific substance. It's not like a drug sniffing dog where it's going to have a reaction to a specific thing. Dogs are going to hear, or dogs or cats or whatever animals are going to hear differently. They're going to sense differently. They're going to pick out shit and pay attention to shit that they want to, regardless of what you say. They don't care whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, you see, there's been plenty of times I've been asked, like, well, my dog, stares at the wall for no reason. Or somebody in the comments said something about staring into the corner. Well, yeah, corners are great for focusing sound. I mean, if you go into a corner and stand in a corner, which some of us do because we're total science nerds, and listen, you hear everything in the room. But you can also hear stuff outside of your house in different rooms. And animals are not going to have that idea that, oh, it's just somebody next door. It's like if you live in a twin or a row home, we know that there are people on the other side of that wall. Your pet doesn't realize it. And if they hear something, they're going to react to it. And it falls into that category, that question that Tim brought up. How do you know? Best question ever. How do you know? Because how the fuck do you know? You don't. You just don't. And we're going to see TV shows and groups that are going to take along their pets and say, well, look, we have a video of the dog stopping. And I keep picking on dogs, but the dog stops and it stares at this blank wall or this room. And we don't know why. It must be something in there. And, holy shit, if they take a K2 meter in there. Yeah, there you go. There's your evidence. So, yeah, I might be being a little bit more scornful on this, but I think it's something that is done without being thought through.
Yep.
And
it's almost like misuse of just paranormal equipment in general. It's a misuse of, taking a dog and not knowing what it's measuring and how it's measuring it. And when it stops measuring and it stops to measure something, like it smells something on the other side of a wall, you don't realize that it's measuring scent, or you put your own interpretation of the dog's behavior, just like you do when a K2 meter pops up and lights 2 or 3 times, and you don't know how it works. It's a ghost.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, John.
All right, John, what say you? And then do you have a question or a comment for us before we let you go?
All right. No, I don't have a question or comment. I just wanted to join for that one because I did have some things to say. But as for this one, though, I will say that, like you guys are saying, we don't know what they're hearing, what they're seeing, what they're smelling, or whatever, because we don't have a way to talk to them. So they could be hearing a squirrel that's off in the distance that we have no way of hearing, but their hearing is so good, or their smell is so good, they're picking these things up, and we think it's a ghost. Or the other problem to me is that there has been people that have been seen and proven they'll do something to prime their animal. So they'll hit up this prime, and the animal will act like, oh yeah, here's something, or wag its tail, or whatever they trained it to do, and that can be used to mislead a lot of people.
Right. Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, John. If you want to
Thanks
jump
for
back
having me
in, let us know.
All right.
John, you're
All right.
awesome,
Hey,
man.
John.
You're so good, so natural on camera.
All right.
Hey, you guys have been helping me out. I appreciate it so much.
I mean,
All right, John.
it's not even 100%. You're great.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Later,
Jump
bro.
back in if you got something else. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Next question is, we'll get through a quick one here. Ever watched The Entity? Yes. And
Yes.
we had a discussion about that and the pictures in the case. So we've covered that. If you guys want to comment more, otherwise we can move on.
I mean, I'll just add, yeah, we did a show. I think we did 2 shows where we touched on it. One was specifically about the case, and so if you want to go back, look on our YouTube channel, and you can find that it's clearly marked, and you can check that out, and that'll give you all the information that you want.
Okay. All right, JD. I recently had an article published in Skeptical Inquirer about witchcraft accusations. How would you 3 test to see whether someone was a witch or claimed to have powers associated with witchcraft? So I'll let Tim go, but obviously you tie rocks to their feet, throw them in the water, and tell them.
Shit!
Tim, go ahead.
He's a witch.
She's a witch. I know. If I would have known, I would have got that clip.
If you're a witch, you'll die. If you're not a witch, you'll get out. Or, no, sorry. If you're not a witch, you'll die. If you are a witch, you're going to get out of it, and then we're going to kill you anyway. That's the reasoning? So, all right, go ahead, Tim.
Oh yeah, that was mine. Time full of rocks and see. I have no idea how you would test like that. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I think they'd have to make a specific claim, like I'm going to put a hex on somebody. And then you would have to look at the time period of things that have happened, look at things that have happened to them before, things that happen afterwards. I mean, there is a way to test it, but it all depends on how specific you are and what you're looking for.
Well, you would have to tell people you may or may not be part of that. How to control. Because I think ethically, just in case it is real, like I would hope somebody would tell me, "Hey, we're testing this. We're texting these hexes. We're going to put one on you, Tim." It would be kind of cool to have that heads up, just in case it is real. But the power of suggestion, unless you just went ahead and didn't tell somebody.
Well, I think the basic thing is to not tell them.
Mm-hmm.
That's called the control. Yeah, I mean, you want to have a control or a person that you're going to put the curse on, or the hex, or whatever you're going to do, and see what happens. But then there should be another person, whether they didn't do anything to, and then you could make it more complicated. You could have people that you tell them we did something to you, and then you could tell people we did something to you, but you didn't really do something to them.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
So
yeah.
you're looking at all the different scenarios.
You would need so many people.
Ken?
I see 2 questions here. Whether how would we test whether someone was a witch? That's one, or claim to have powers associated with a witch. So the first one, I mean, basically, it's like I don't. It's like asking somebody if they're, they're Catholic or if they're Protestant. It's like, are you a witch? And they say yes. Well, there you go. I'm satisfied. I don't give a shit any further. That's okay. But now, if we're
Fair enough.
talking about the powers associated with a witch, we have to define what that means. Like, what does that mean? Do they get any special? Do they fly? Do they have a broom? I can ask my wife. But I don't know what powers we're talking about. But once we define what type of powers we're talking about, then we can develop tests for them, just like any other experiment, just like any other testable claim.
Mm-hmm.
If they claim they can curse somebody and have them grow warts out of their face, then obviously we can test it. And I mean, there's ethical concerns, so I'll volunteer. By all means, put a curse on me and see if it happens. And that would be our test. And we'd have somebody. Donna could be our control because she lives in the same environment that I do. And if she doesn't get them and I do, then there's something to look at. But yeah, that's as far as I would go with it. You'd have to really define what powers you're talking about.
Yeah,
so, there you
definitely.
go.
Yep.
This is rum. Ooh.
My brain I do not want to go back to this, but I'm going to just drop this little nugget.
But we're going to anyway.
When you mentioned reality and being delayed in the Facebook feed.
Oh my God.
What?
This is a delay.
Here comes the headache.
Oh my God, 20 minutes.
No,
His brain is 20 minutes fucking delayed.
but
You're dead and you don't even know it. You
but
won't
the
know you're
train
dead.
the train still arrives at the station. That's the important thing. It might be late, but it got there. What if the 15-second delay, just like what you see on Facebook, is proof of the Matrix? Okay, and that's all. We won't go there. I'm just going to leave it.
Oh,
That's for
God.
future. I just had to say
That's a whole show in itself, Tim.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Whew.
Question by Bob. If ghosts did exist, where would be the one place you would think would be the best place to look? Grave site, site of murder, mental facility, personal home, other, and why? Which would have the most afterlife energy? Oh, Bob,
Fucker,
you're
Bob.
killing us. All right, Tim, go.
I saw this question coming through, and I have no idea. My gut, for some reason, and it's probably just because it's my preference and not based on anything else,
Mhm.
I would probably just think the home, a personal home, only because it seems like that's where somebody would gravitate to.
Mhm.
But that's based on nothing other than, I think if I had my choice, I would probably come home too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go next before Kenny. I would go with things that in places that were that I was emotionally connected to, places that I want to be, people I want to go back and visit. I sure as shit would not hang out in a graveyard. That makes no fucking sense to me at all. It just does. It makes no sense at all. I got him. It makes no sense.
Some of it came out of my
Okay,
nose.
here's my choice. Graveyard or co-ed shower. And I say that as a joke, but I mean, really, what the hell would you do sitting in a graveyard? Why? What would be the point? I can see if you're going to rank them, where you had a connection, where you had an emotional connection, that's number one. Maybe where you died because it's traumatic and you're trying to figure out what the hell happened to you. But third, there's no way in hell I'm sitting in a graveyard. There's nobody there. Why would I want to be there? I don't get it. All right, I'm ranting. Kenny, go ahead.
I'm in line with you guys. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm looking at the question and I'm thinking about it, and I would hang out where I am happy, and that would be home. If I go first,
People that love you and miss you.
my wife, my son, go visit them. Places that I love to just go and visit. You know, if somebody's busy and then, you know, after a while, there's only so much you can take, even of a loved one, of just sitting there and watching them. So, like at night when they're sleeping, okay, you know, do the creepy thing for a little bit, watch them sleep. I'm like, oh, you know. But then I'm gonna
Oh,
go
Donna,
off,
he's gonna watch you sleep.
I want to go off somewhere else where, like an open field, like Gettysburg is a good place. I love going there, just sitting on the boulders and watching the sunset or the sunrise. So yeah, I would float on out there and watch the sunrise and be like, oh,
Float on out
but
there.
then again, you know what? If I have all this ability to float around and go wherever the fuck I want for all of eternity, sorry, I'm not staying here.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm not staying here. I'm
That's a good
going
point.
off. I'm going to go visit the moon,
point.
you know, and I'm going to go
Travel
over
the
the sun.
travel the universe. You can go
Yeah.
anywhere you want. Why would you come back here? I mean, besides, yeah, maybe an occasional visit to say hey to your loved ones. I'm okay. I'm continuing on, but why would you stay here, especially in a graveyard? So,
Dumb.
all right, so let's do two more questions. Take a quick break, and then we'll see what else we have left. Ryan Carlson, do you guys believe Bigfoot exists? If not, why do so many reported sightings exist? So we also did an entire show on this called Daryl or Where's Daryl or
His name
wherever
is
the hell it
Daryl.
was. But I mean, I think we talked about it that based on population biology and reproduction and in ecology, that you would need a certain number of these individuals or these animals to be present and to reproduce. And I think we got into talking about the environment, the food, the water, where they'd be able to survive, and why nobody has actually found any bones or any remains of these creatures. So, do I believe Bigfoot exists? Honestly, I think it's probably one of the more likely things that could exist because there's a lot of different species that are out there that we don't know about. And things that have gone extinct, they continuously have reports of, oh, we thought it went extinct, but it's actually here. And there's a lot of environment to study and look for these things. So is there something out there? Is there a species we don't know about? Yeah, it's quite possible. But do I think there's a lot of misidentification and people, making the mistake of, oh, bears don't walk upright. So when I see an upright, hairy creature walking in the woods, that's got to be a Bigfoot. I think there's a lot of misidentification and a lot of people misperceiving things that lead them to believe that there might be something out there. But do I think it's possible there's a species out there we don't know about and we haven't discovered? Yeah, I think that's possible. But as far as what the evidence is so far, DNA, environmental people going out and surveying, we just haven't seen anything that definitively shows that Bigfoot exists. I'm not saying it doesn't. We just don't have the data yet. So let's go to Kenny. Comments.
So basically, yeah, everything you said, I'm pretty much in agreement with. I'll probably lean a little bit more that I don't think it exists just because of what we talked about. And again, as you mentioned, we did a show on this, and please go back and on our YouTube channel and check it out because we did a whole entire show talking about the community and breeding population and that. And for a decent breeding population, I think there would be enough of these. And again, we're assuming that they are like these 800-pound, 7-8 foot tall creatures. There would be enough of them that it would not be these sparse reported sightings. And as you said, standing bears are often mistaken because they do stand up. And most people are like, no, they can't stand up. They can't walk, around, but they do. They do. There's plenty of videos out there that you can watch. And yeah, if you see something like that in the woods, off in a distance, yeah, it's going to look freaky. But it's misidentification because most of the time fear is going to take over and you're going to run. You're not going to stick around, except for idiots like me. I'm like, I'm going to go see what it is. How close can I get?
You're the person that first gets killed in the
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah, exactly. I am definitely that person. So I don't know. I don't think they exist. That's my idea right now. That's my idea that they probably don't. But I hope I'm proven wrong because it would really, really be cool. So I'll pass it up to Tim.
Tim?
With you guys, I don't know what else. There's not much more. I have to say, like, ranking things on what I think are most probable. Definitely something crypto, like Bigfoot, would be up above a lot of things. I get stuck on not finding bones, not finding something. It just over and over, the most random hikers continually run across people that have been missing for years. I mean, not even the whole body, but just sometimes body parts. And I mean that respectfully, not with any disrespect, but just saying sometimes you just find a femur, sometimes you just find a jawbone. And it's constant. I don't know why they wouldn't run across something that would resemble or get linked back to a Bigfoot.
All right. Here's the last question and clear out for now. It's from Sandy. If a spirit can't even speak into a spirit box, well, some people think they can. How in the world could it even scratch you? That's a good question.
Yeah.
How would it scratch you?
That is a good question.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, if there is such a thing as mind over matter, and you can affect things in the physical environment when you're alive, the step would be if consciousness survives. That's a big if. And if it could retain that power, which is another big if. So we're making two huge leaps of faith here and saying if that could happen, sure, it could potentially happen. The other thing that could happen is that if there's a message sent to you that says I'm scratching you, we know there's psychosomatic things where your own brain can cause physical reactions in your body. So that can happen. The other thing that could potentially be happening is if you think you're going to get scratched in a place, your mind might actually be able to provide some sort of physical reaction in your body that has nothing to do with the paranormal. It might not have anything to do with the spirit, anything to do with the ghost. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I mean, yeah, if you're going to make the leap of faith that people can affect things with their mind when they're alive, why can't they do it when they're dead? That's one argument. The other argument is if your body and your mind can affect your body and your well-being, and we know that there's documented psychosomatic reactions to things and interactions, sure, why not? Why couldn't you think that you're perceiving a ghost and have some sort of reaction and cause it to cause a scratch? Then you start looking at histamine release and how your body might react to certain ambiguous environmental changes like spikes in electromagnetic fields and changes in static electricity that could potentially cause certain immune cells to have a immune response which releases histamine and other activators that could cause you to seem like you're having a reaction. So a couple of rambling thoughts there. So let's go to Tim. What do you think?
This makes me think of the mechanism, but I think you kind of talked to that with the mind over matter. If you could do it here, why not keep it over? But it would still be, what is the mechanism for that? I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting if you think about it, though. The ability of a cell to react with let's say a gated ion channel, it's really a 1 or a 0. It either happens or it doesn't. So theoretically, if you're thinking about it, if you could push that reaction or that ion channel, that one ion channel to open or close and send an impulse down the stream and then to other nerve cells and muscle cells and the reaction there. I mean, I get physically, I guess it's possible, but what is the cause of that one first reaction? How is that happening?
Witches.
Witches.
I don't know.
All right. Kenny, thoughts?
So this really made me start thinking that, and Tim, you kind of echoed my thoughts there. The mechanism by which someone gets scratched by an entity, a non-physical entity. If we can, if we're taking into account the idea, not proven fact, but the idea of a mind over matter thing, there still has to be some kind of force, which would have to be sharp, and because we're talking about a sharp force, an edged force that would cause a scratch in a physical object, the skin. So it made me think, like, all right, well, that would still have to form. That's so complicated. That is very Hollywood kind of superpowers, because you not only do you have the force, you have to shape that force into a sharp force to scratch, instead of what I would consider a more, I guess, a more plausible thing. If, and again, we're talking in hypotheticals here, if you have some kind of force that can move and push and pull, because I mean, the common idea is that, you know, ghosts or spirits can push things. You see objects move by themselves because they're pushed or pulled. You'd have to apply that same concept to the skin. So it would not be a scratch with a sharp object cutting the skin, because obviously it's not cutting. It's just drawing kind of a sharp edge along it, because you're getting the pink lines and not an open wound. But it would be a force that would pull apart skin. You would get more of a tear than an actual cut, because you have to make a knife. Am I making sense here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. But
Yeah, you are.
how do you explain psychogenic illness then?
I have to look.
I
that
mean,
up.
it can be a specific, it can be a specific scratch, or it can be something more generalized.
So
Obviously, your mind can receive a signal and then act upon it physically.
So I understand that you can have reactions. You have internal reactions that can cause like skin rashes and so, because of maybe anxiety or something like that. I'm not an expert in this. I'm totally speculating here. But an actual physical scratch, and we're talking like the kind that resembles taking a sharp object and moving it along your skin to break the upper dermis level. You're trying to cut the skin.
But I guess, let me stop you there. Has anybody really seen an open cut in these scratches? I have never seen that. I've seen raised lines that look like an allergic reaction, like a histamine response. I've never seen an open cut ever.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Where is that?
Where is it? Exactly. Where is it?
That's a big difference between a couple welts forming as opposed to an open actual cut on your skin.
I mean, I still get, and I think anyone that has a tattoo, I still get the tattoos. The lines will raise every once in a while, and I don't know if it's just from friction from material, you know, the shirts that I wear or something, or whatever. But sometimes I run my hand along my arm, and I'm like, oh, you know, there's all the lines. You know, what's going on there?
Oh shit!
I feel the shape of the tattoo. But yeah, I mean, we're getting really deep into this idea, but that's what we really have to do. I mean,
you would really want someone on scene that has the medical knowledge and the recording equipment that you could immediately look very closely at if there's damage outside or if it comes from an internal, like a allergic reaction.
Yeah.
And then maybe people are misidentifying a scratch because it looks like a scratch, but in reality, it's a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would love to test for, if we were present, if we could be present for an event like this, where it wasn't just a superficial a scratch, where it's just a kind of sharp object going along the skin, and it just causes that pink line, the raised skin, because that's not breaking the skin. If you break the skin and you get blood, I would stop immediately and get out my what is it, luminol test kit, and tell everyone present, including the person that was scratched, most especially that person, and say, give me your hands, let me see your hands, let's test and see if we get blood showing up. Because I would think, and I'm not saying everyone's a hoaxer or deliberately being deceitful, but I think people do it to themselves. When you have that deep of a scratch, it's caused by something.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a physical object. As far as I know, it's going to be a physical object. So that's all I can say about that.
There's a lot of heavy stuff to think about. What the hell?
Yeah.
Open mic night. Damn it. We're thinking.
Turned into weeks of homework.
Shit. All right. Well, we have no more questions, so we might as well move into our closing comments. So, Tim, go ahead.
I love this. I love that. Someone had mentioned, had talked about a thought experiment, and I love thought experiments. I just absolutely love those. I have no, I can't talk on any great authority about a lot of this, but I sure love to talk about it anyway. And it's so much fun to think about and ask questions and work things out and soundboard them and just throw something out there and see what it sounds like. Because maybe my thought that is completely wrong might spur another thought that came from it and invoke something better. I just love it. I love that. Open mic nights are just so much fun. I like these. And I've already Googled free will, so I'm going to be worth shit at work for a couple of weeks.
Excellent. We got Tim to go down another rabbit hole. So,
yeah.
Kenny, closing thoughts.
I like that comment that Greg had about typical scratches. They resemble more like burns, and I think there's a clue there, something that we didn't touch on yet, that if people are doing it to themselves, especially now, this is exclusively for people that are on TV and or have like YouTube video channels, and they're promoting their stuff, and they want that drama. There's that added bonus or added suspect or suspicion of them doing it to themselves, but just enough to cause that mark, but not be really bad, because you don't want to do self-harm. I mean, it's by nature, most of us don't want to harm ourselves. But if you got, if you start doing this and do it long enough and hard enough, you're not going to break the skin, but I guarantee you'll leave a mark. And if you're in the dark for a couple minutes, maybe a minute, if you got nails, you got a mark. So do they resemble burns? Yeah, I think so, because it's a friction burn more so than an actual scratch.
Is it though, or is it more of a allergic reaction, which is possible?
Well, if you're doing it, say you're.
Are we sure it could be a scratch that's due to inflammation and irritation, as opposed to a burn, which is the heat and the fluid buildup, which results to inflammation and irritation.
Right. Yes.
But is it that, or are people having like an allergic reaction, which could be more of a psychosomatic thing as well? Because if it's a burn, if it resembles a burn, my thought is that would last longer and you would get some sort of water blister or something forming and potential scarring. So I'm not sure it's a burn.
So why an allergic reaction would be different than psychosomatic.
Not necessarily.
So
I mean, your psychosomatic reaction could be allowing the cells in the area to have a histamine response.
okay, so I guess
But a
what I'm
burn is
what I'm
definitely
doing-
a physical trauma that definitely causes damage to the skin that most likely results in a longer term injury than an allergic reaction.
so what I'm getting at more, I guess I'm thinking on terms of an allergic reaction is if they brushed up against a certain chemical, or moss or maybe dog hair, and they had an allergic reaction to that,
Right.
and that caused it. Like for me, if I get near a cat,
Mhm.
I can guarantee my eyes will swell up. I'll get pink all around. It'll swell up all around here.
Yep.
That's guaranteed.
Mhm.
As opposed to a psychosomatic matter where it's more the anxiety and mental factor. You're thinking so hard that you're causing this
But
this reaction.
But
Is
the
that,
physical process of it would be the same, correct?
but the
I
cause
think that's
of
what we're looking at. It's psychosomatic, but there's actually physical attributes to it that could be similar to your allergic reaction.
I mean, I'm not. I don't think I'm arguing with you.
No, we're not. We're not. No. I think we're trying to clarify here
Yeah.
what we're talking about. I think there's a difference though between an allergic reaction as opposed to a physical burn.
Right.
The process is
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
And the amount of damage, like if I have an allergic reaction that you're describing, Kenny, I can put some hydrocortisone cream on it and it goes away. If I have a burn, the hydrocortisone doesn't do
Right.
shit.
Right. Okay.
There's
Yeah.
physical damage to the tissue.
I think I was going more for the cause.
Okay.
The root
Got
cause
it.
of it.
Got it.
Whether
Okay.
it was because I thought so hard that I made it happen,
Okay.
as opposed to I brushed against a chemical and I had a chemical reaction that caused the allergy.
Yeah.
So that's where I was going with it.
Okay.
And this is what it looks like in our chat.
Tiffany, I think you're discussing nuances. Absolutely.
We are.
That's why we get to the heart of the matter is by discussing the nuances on some of this. And John laughs. I don't think we are arguing on this. No, we're probably not arguing on this. We're just trying to clarify.
Right.
And that's a good thing to make sure we're both talking about the same damn thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No assumptions. Like we're
Yep.
clarifying and we're making sure, and we worked it out. So, yeah.
Yep.
Fuck you, John.
All right. With that being said, what do you guys have coming up? Let's start with Tim and Dave because they're the shortest. So go ahead, Tim.
I do a cool show with two of my good friends every Saturday. But coming up really soon is a trip to the bathroom because, damn,
Yeah, we're 23 minutes beyond our pee break.
I drank a whole pot of coffee with liquor.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Nothing else going on for me. Three Tortured Souls Saturday night. I'm looking at with my wife Jen bringing back side chat. We're hoping to find some time and get that going again. So that's about it. And then working on some projects with Brandon Masulo and Shane Feek, and got some exciting stuff working on that we're working on. So I'll tell you about that at a later time. Kenny?
Yeah.
So for now, I wasn't prepared for the announcements. So, but Friday nights I do my Skeptical Help Bar, 8 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out. I don't have any guests lined up yet, but last night's show was really fun. We had a lawyer on, and it was really enlightening. And then Saturday nights I do this show with these jackasses that I love dearly. But other than that, I have a couple things coming up, but I don't have them in front of me, so I don't have the right dates. So I'll tell you.
All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back next Saturday night for another show. And who's up? Tim?
Yeah, I think it's me.
Tim's up. All right.
Cool.
Until then, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
See you later.
See ya.
Don't for Charles, don't for Charles, don't for Charles, game in the real, those ones in the air in the real, big little thrill, don't rush with me, Dan was about, Dan is out, Dan is about, those everyone, running on TV, don't for Charles, don't for Charles, don't for Charles, don't for Charles. And all what you say, oh, you'll get to better.